Chapter 7, Part 2. It was well after 12 o'clock when the whole valley was suddenly filled with a pinky red light. Everybody stopped dancing as they thought it was a new firework. But it was only the opening of Thingamy and Bob's suitcase. The king's ruby lay shining in the grass, looking more beautiful than ever, making the fire, the lanterns and even the moon look pale and wane in comparison. Awestruck and speechless, they all crowded round the glowing jewel. "To think that anything could be so beautiful!" exclaimed Moomin Mamma. Snift heaved a deep sigh and said, "Lucky Thingamy and Bob." But meanwhile the king's ruby was shining like a red eye in the dark earth, and up in the moon the hobgoblin caught sight of it. There he is. He had given up searching and sat tired and sad on the edge of the crater, resting himself while his black panther slept a little way off. He recognised the red point down on the earth at once. It was the biggest ruby in the world, the king's ruby, which he had been hunting for several 100 years. He started up and with gleaming eyes pulled on his gloves and fastened his cloak around his shoulders. He dropped all his other jewels to the ground. The hobgoblin only troubled himself about one single precious stone, and that was the one he would hold in his hands in less than half an hour. The panther threw himself into the air with his master on his back, and they began to hurtle through space, faster than light. Hissing meteors cut across their path, and stardust caught in the hobgoblin's cloak like driving snow, and it seemed to him that the red fire below burned more brightly. He steered right towards Moomin Valley, and with a last spring the panther landed smoothly and silently on top of the lonely mountain. The inhabitants of the valley were still sitting in silent awe in front of the king's ruby. In its flame they seemed to see all the wonderful things they had ever done, and they longed to remember and to do them once more. Moomintroll remembered his midnight rambles with Snufkin, and the Snork Maiden thought of her proud conquest of the Wooden Queen, and Moomin Mamma imagined herself once more lying on the warm sand in the sunshine, looking up at the sky between the swaying heads of the sea pinks. Each one was far away, lost in wonderful memories, when they were all startled by a little white mouse with red eyes who slunk out of the wood and scurried towards the king's ruby, followed by a coal black cat, which stretched itself out in the grass. As far as anyone knew, a white mouse had never lived in Moomin Valley, nor a black cat either. "Puss, puss," said the Hamoolan, but the cat only shut its eyes and didn't bother to answer. Then the wood rat said, "Good evening, cousin," but all she got from the white mouse was a long melancholy stare. So Moomin Papa came forward with 2 cups, wanting to offer the newcomers a drink from the barrel. But they took no notice of him. A certain gloom crept over the valley. People whispered and wondered. Thingamy and Bob got anxious and put the ruby back in their suitcase and shut the lid. But when they tried to take it away, the white mouse stood up on his hind legs and began to grow. He grew almost as big as the Moomin house. Then he grew into the red-eyed hobgoblin in white gloves. And when he had grown enough, he sat down on the grass and looked at Thingamy and Bob. "Go away, you muggly old 'un," said Thingamy. "Where did you find the king's ruby?" asked the hobgoblin. "Mind your own business," said Bob. They had never seen Thingamy and Bob being so brave. "I have hunted it for 300 years," said the hobgoblin. "I'm not interested in anything else." "Nor are we," said Thingamy. "You can't take it away from them," said Moomintroll. "They got it quite honestly from the Groke." But he didn't mention how they had exchanged it for the hobgoblin's own old hat. Anyway, he seemed to have a new one. "Give me something to munch," said the hobgoblin. "This is getting on my nerves." Moomin Mamma at once bustled forward with pancakes and jam and gave him a big plateful. While the hobgoblin was eating, they edged a little nearer. Somebody who eats pancakes and jam can't be so awfully dangerous. "You can talk to him. Does it taste good?" asked Thingamy. "Yes, thanks," said the hobgoblin. "I haven't had a pancake for the last 85 years. At once everybody felt sorry for him and came still nearer. When he had finished, he wiped his moustache and said, "I can't take the ruby away from you because that would be stealing, but couldn't you exchange it for, let's say 2 diamond mountains, a valley full of mixed precious stones?" "No," said Thingamy and Bob. "And you can't give it to me?" asked the hobgoblin. "No," they repeated. The hobgoblin sighed, and then he sat for a while thinking and looked very sad. At last he said, "Well, go on with your party, and I'll cheer myself up by working a little magic for you. Everyone shall have a piece of magic for themselves. Now you can all have a wish. The Moomin family first." Moomin Mamma hesitated a bit. Should it be something you can see, she asked, or an idea, if you know what I mean, Mr. Hobgoblin? Oh, yes, said the Hobgoblin. Things are easier, of course, but it will work with an idea too. Then I want to wish that Moomintroll will stop missing Snufkin, said Moomin Mamma. Oh, dear, said Moomintroll, going pink. I didn't know it was so obvious. But the Hobgoblin waved his cloak once, and immediately the sadness flew out of Moomintroll's heart. His longing just became expectancy, and that felt much better. I've got an idea, he cried. Dear Hobgoblin, make the whole table with everything on it fly away to Snufkin, wherever he is now. And look what he does. At the same moment, the table rose in the air and headed south with pancakes, jam, fruit and flowers, punch and sweets, and also the muskrat's book, which he had left on the corner. Hi, said the muskrat. Now I should like my book spirited back again, please. Right, said the Hobgoblin. Here you are, sir. Oh, the usefulness of everything, read the Muscat. But this is the wrong book. The one I had was about the uselessness of everything. But the Hobgoblin only laughed. Surely it's my turn now, said Moomin Papa. But it's very difficult to choose. I've thought of masses of things, but nothing is absolutely right. A greenhouse is more fun to make yourself. A dinghy too. Besides, I've got nearly everything. Perhaps you don't need a wish at all, said Snuff. Couldn't I have yours? Oh, well, said Moomin Papa, I'm not sure about that. You must hurry up, dear, urged Moomin Mamma. What about wishing for a pair of really nice book bindings for your memoirs? Oh, that is a good idea, Moomin Papa exclaimed happily, and everybody screamed with delight when the Hobgoblin handed over 2 red Morocco leather and gold bindings set with pearls. Me now, squeaked Sniff. A boat, my very own boat, please. A boat like a shell with purple sails and a jacaranda mast and rowlocks made of emeralds. That was quite a wish, said the Hobgoblin kindly and waved his cloak. They all held their breath, but the boat didn't appear. Didn't it work? asked Sniff in disappointment. Indeed it did, said the Hobgoblin. But of course I put it down on the beach. You'll find it there in the morning. With rowlocks made of emeralds? asked Sniff. Certainly, 4 of them and 1 in reserve, said the Hobgoblin. Next one, please. Said the Hamoulin. To tell you the truth, there was a botanising spade that I borrowed from the Snork that got broken, so I simply must have a new one. And he curtsied in a well-brought-up manner when the Hobgoblin produced the new spade. Don't you get tired of working magic? asked the Snork maiden. Not with these easy things, answered the Hobgoblin. And what will you have, my dear young lady? It's really very difficult, said the Snork maiden. May I whisper? When she had whispered, the Hobgoblin looked a little surprised and asked, Are you sure you want that to happen? Yes, sure, breathed the Snork maiden. Well, all right then, said the Hobgoblin. Here you go. The next moment a cry of surprise went up from the crowd. The Snork maiden was unrecognisable. What have you done to yourself? said Moomintroll frantically. I wished for my eyes like the wooden queen, said the Snork maiden. You thought she was beautiful, didn't you? Yes, but, said Moomintroll unhappily. Don't you think my new eyes are beautiful? said the Snork maiden and started to cry. Well, well, said the Hobgoblin, if they aren't right, then your brother can wish for your old eyes back again, can't he? Yes, but I thought of something quite different, protested the Snork. If she makes stupid wishes, it really isn't my fault. What had you thought of? asked the Hobgoblin. A machine for finding things out, said the Snork. A machine that tells you whether things are right or wrong, good or bad. That's too difficult, said the Hobgoblin, shaking his head. I can't manage that. Well, in that case, I should like a typewriter, said the Snork sulkily. My sister can see just as well with her new eyes. Yes, but she doesn't look so nice, said the Hobgoblin. Dearest brother, cried the Snork maiden, who had got hold of the mirror. Please wish my little old eyes back again. I look so awful. Oh, all right, said the Snork at last. You shall have them for the sake of the family, but I hope you're a little less vain in future. The Snork maiden looked in the mirror again and cried with delight. Her funny little eyes were back in their place again, but her eyelashes had actually become a little longer. Beaming all over her face, she hugged her brother and said, Sweetie pie, honey pot, you shall have a typewriter for a Christmas present from me. Don't, said the Snork, who was very embarrassed. One shouldn't kiss when people are looking. No, I couldn't bear to see you in that awful state, that's all. Aha, now only Thingamy and Bob are left from the house party, said the Hobgoblin. You can have a joint wish because I can't tell the difference between you. Aren't you going to wake a mish? asked Bob. I can't, replied the Hobgoblin sadly. I can only give other people wishes and change myself into different things. Thingamy and Bob stared at him. Then they put their heads together and whispered for a long time. And Bob said solemnly, We've decided to wake a mish for you because you are nice. We want a booby as rootiful as ours. Everybody had seen the Hobgoblin laugh, but nobody believed he could smile. He was so happy that you could see it all over him, from his hat to his boots. Without a word, he waved his cloak over the grass, and behold, once more the garden was filled with a pink light, and there on the grass before them lay a twin to the king's ruby, the queen's ruby. "Now you're not miserable any more," said Bob. "I should say not," said the hobgoblin, tenderly lifting up the shining jewel in his cloak. "And now every single one of the animals shall wish for what he wants. I shall grant all your wishes before morning, because I have to be home before the sun rises." And now they all had their turns. In front of the hobgoblin there circled a long queue of chirping, laughing, humming forest creatures, who all wanted to have their wishes granted. Those who wished stupidly were allowed another chance, because the hobgoblin was in a very good temper. The dancing started again, and more trolleyfuls of pancakes were wheeled under the trees. The Hamoonin let off more and more fireworks, and Moomin Papa carried out his memoirs in their smart new binding and read aloud about his youth. Never had there been such a celebration in Moomin Valley. What a wonderful feeling when you have eaten up everything, drunk everything, talked of everything, and danced your feet off to go home in the quiet hour before the dawn to sleep. And now the hobgoblin flies to the end of the world, and the mother mouse creeps into her nest, and one is as happy as the other. But perhaps the happiest of all is Moomintroll, who goes home through the garden with his mother, just as the moon is fading in the dawn and the trees rustling in the morning breeze which comes up from the sea. It is autumn in Moomin Valley, for how else can spring come back again? There you go, that's the last picture. And then I've got another picture to show you, because I like it. It's of Moomin. There you go. That is the end of Finn Family Moomintroll by Tove Jansson. And this book is published by Sort of Books. And I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, there's plenty more. You could always go and choose some yourself. Goodbye.